Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all today evening to this episode on behalf of the Indian Advocate Forum in the series of introducing the prominent lawyers of this country. Today, we are introducing to you one of the prominent lawyers of this country, Mr. Vivek Sood. Good evening, Mr. Sood.
Good evening.
How are you?
All is well, and thank you for bringing me on this platform.
And to introduce Mr. Vivek Sood, he did his schooling from Mayor College, Ajmer, did his graduation from Delhi University, and his law from Faculty of Law, Delhi University. What do you say that if we want to know about Vivek Sood, the terms in which he is being introduced is like an academician at the bar. He has written a number of books. One of them is lying here, Chaff and Grain, which is his latest publication. And since 1992, when he registered at the bar, he has represented very high-fi clients, and very prominent cases he has appeared and defended his clients. The prominent cases like M.L. Verma scandal, then Jessica Lal case, Telgi scam, and Sikh rights case. He came after 1994, right? 95.
1984.
So we have a very interesting personality with us, who's a lawyer, who's an academician, and in his personal life is more like a bookworm, writing books all the time, reading books all the time. Mr. Sood, when we are talking today, at this moment, we all know that our country is engaged in a very serious armed conflict with Pakistan. Now, in this context, I would like to ask you a question. Everyone is contributing to the national effort to fight Pakistan. We have our soldiers on the border. We have our bureaucrats working all the time. The diplomats working all the time. All the departments are doing something or the other. In what way you as a lawyer or lawyers as a community are contributing to this war effort?
That's a very interesting question. Let's start from the freedom struggle, the independence struggle, the fight for independence that culminated in freedom from colonial rule in 1947. Lawyers were at the forefront of this great freedom struggle. The backbone of this freedom struggle, the biggest stalwart in this struggle for independence was none other than Gandhiji, a known lawyer, a known lawyer at the bar. So lawyers contributed greatly to the independence struggle. Moving on from the freedom struggle, when we became a republic in 1950, in the making of the constitution, lawyers greatly contributed to the making of the Indian Constitution. If you read the Constituent Assembly debates, you will find contributions from great lawyers who were part of the Constituent Assembly. Moving further, we are today a robust democracy. A very successful democracy over the last 75 years since we became a republic. If you compare the Indian democracy with some of our neighbors, some countries in Latin America, Africa, Asia, many of those countries which started as democracies have degenerated into dictatorships. Lawyers have been at the forefront of upholding democratic values in the country. Lawyers have been at the forefront in upholding the fundamental rights of citizens.
Indian lawyers.
Indian lawyers, we lawyers of this great country, we are at the forefront in contesting draconian laws, executive excesses. Wherever there is a violation of the fundamental rights of the citizens, it is the legal community that rises to the occasion. Moving further, in international forums, lawyers have been fighting on myriad issues concerning the sovereignty of the country at international forums since 1947, at the UN and other forums.
Yeah.
Also, if you ask yourself a question, from where do High Court and Supreme Court judges come from? They come from the legal community.
From the bar.
From the bar. I should also talk about the top law officers of the government. Legal policies concerning important national issues are crafted by the top law officers of the country. The Attorney General of India, the Additional Solicitor General of India, the Solicitor General of India. For example, the entire scheme for abrogation of Article 370 was crafted by the top law officers of the country. Here again, lawyers have been contributing. We lawyers may not go to the borders to fight the war, but we are constantly upholding the sovereignty of the nation within a constitutional framework.
So what you mean is that beyond the bombs and the missiles, we miss the legal aspect of the issue.
Yes, so we are firing the legal missiles on a day-to-day basis in the court battles and in the myriad ways, some of which I have just explained and elaborated on.
So we suspended the Indus Water Treaty. So, you mean to say that the lawyers have advised the government to do that?
Definitely, definitely. It's a legal issue, and the top law officers of the country would have been advising the government of India.
Now, Mr. Sood, will you tell us the legal dimensions of this suspension of the treaty? How do you defend it?
In fact, we have followed the principle of rebus sic stantibus.
Okay.
And there's a fundamental principle with respect to law of treaties that if circumstances undergo a change from when the treaty was entered into, a treaty can be revoked.
Yeah.
So we have revoked the Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan, being an enemy state, being a sponsor of terrorist acts, especially the Pahalgam incident, where, in a brutal attack.
This is the latest.
The latest.
There's a series of them.
Yes, in a brutal attack on dozens of innocent men, innocent citizens of this great country, and killing them all in front of their wives and mothers and sisters. So you can't have it both ways. You can't act as an enemy and also enjoy the fruits of a treaty like Indus Water Treaty. These things can't go together. So since there is a change in the circumstances with respect to the security environment, with respect to the inimical approach of Pakistan by sponsoring and backing terrorists, especially in the Pahalgam incident. So I think we as a country, we have rightfully, lawfully and correctly, we have revoked the Indus Water Treaty.
Let us look at the commercial aspect. We have some international treaties, contracts. Like recently, the government has cancelled the contract with a Turkish company. What's the name?
Celebi.
Celebi, yes, you are right. So what about that? Why we have done that? And they have gone to the High Court, I believe.
First of all, the matter is sub judice in the court.
Oh.
So therefore, we will have a decision, we will get a decision. But what falls from this revocation of the contract is, in my view, firstly, we have a robust legal system in place.
Yeah.
Where a company like Celebi, a Turkish company, also can knock the doors of the court, knock the doors of the legal system and get the issues and their grievances adjudicated by the courts of law.
See,
It's a great feature. It's a great feature of the Indian democracy.
See, just because Turkey has supported Pakistan, do you think it has become an enemy country?
Not at all, in my view, not at all.
Yes.
Not at all. Turkey does not become an enemy state at all. But definitely we have our grievances against Turkey as a country, and why not? In international law, in international diplomatic relations, you have these differences, you have grievances, like you have grievances within the family, between friends, you have grievances between nations also.
Yeah.
Moving further, this revocation of the contract of the Turkish company, and why this Turkish company only? See, because our civil aviation ministry felt and thought that it affects, or it may potentially affect, the aviation, the airports of the country. Now, there could be a potential national threat because airports are part of, I would say, critical infrastructure of the country. So they, in their own wisdom, have thought it wise to revoke the contract. Of course, the matter is sub judice in the court. Ultimately, we will have a decision.
So better to be safe than sorry.
Yes, definitely. See, when it comes to potential national threat, it's an overarching principle, or it is, I think it is an exception where nothing can be compared to a potential national threat.
Sir, you have been representing a lot of white-collar criminals in the courts. And you are smiling. I believe you get a bunch of the fees from them. I have a question to ask. See, these days, the war is fought on all fronts. The economic front is also there. Now, if we are building up an economy, we are looking at a $5 trillion economy, and we are fighting China with an $18 trillion economy, and we are also having threats from America, which is having more than $30 trillion economy. And Pakistan, we have been working upon to make our economy better. So I think the war is more on the footing of the economy. Now, how do we strengthen our economy? If we look at it, are these white-collar criminals weakening our economy? Are they not? My question to you is, nationally, we should have a conscience not to do something which will impact our economy. We should strengthen the economy, we should pay our taxes. What is your take on this?
First of all, I will want to segregate this question into two parts.
Please.
I defend white-collar accused. I don't defend white-collar criminals. So once they are convicted, they have ceased to be my clients.
It's a fine distinction.
They have ceased to be my clients. So I do definitely defend white-collar accused, people accused of serious white-collar crimes. But my representation or my defense on their behalf in the court stems from certain fundamental constitutional principles. For instance, every accused is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. So I am defending an innocent man till he is proven guilty. Secondly, the right to fair trial is part of Article 21 of the Constitution of India. So I am only participating in the right to fair trial. Every man is entitled to be defended before he is condemned and punished. Thirdly, it is the prosecution which has to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. Until that is done, he is an innocent man. So I effectively defend innocent men, and only when they are proven guilty, they become criminals. Firstly, this is the first part of the question which I have answered. The second part, definitely, white-collar crime eats into the economy of the country. And in fact, the Supreme Court has also said that white-collar crime is worse than murder. In a murder, there may be only one victim, But in white collar crime, the victim is the society, victim is the economy. The people at large suffer. Having said that, there's another side of the coin. When innocents are implicated in white collar crime cases, that also adversely affects the Indian economy.
You mean to say the excesses of the agencies?
Excesses of the agencies,
Yeah.
or I would say the courts not taking cognizance of false cases that are there in the system. In fact, in Chaff and Grain, I have devoted one chapter on how false cases are entering rampantly into the Indian criminal justice system. Now, when you accuse innocents of some white collar crime which is not there in reality, and the cases are concocted, the cases are cooked up, it creates an environment of fear amongst the business community. That also affects the economy. Now, let me give you an instance. In PMLA cases, in many cases, I have seen bona fide buyers of property getting implicated as accused. Or if there are proceeds of crime, but the proceeds of crime of an entity, they are paid as salaries to employees, or genuine payments are made to contractors, they are also roped in because of an erroneous application of the law or the overbroad laws that we have. So I am not saying that, I am not commenting on PLA at the larger level. Definitely PMA is a strong piece of legislation which is the necessity for the Indian economy. But at the same time, I am presenting to you the other side of the coin. When innocents are falsely implicated in white collar crime cases, all kinds of cases, cheating, criminal breach of trust, misappropriation of property, forgery, civil disputes being converted into cases of cheating, all these false cases also contribute adversely to the Indian economy.
So now let us look at the economic nationalism. Every now and then we hear that you should not buy products of an enemy country. Don't buy the Chinese products. I mean, Pakistan, I do not know whether they produce anything or not. But if they sell something like mangoes, we don't buy mangoes because they are Pakistani. So on that that economic front, that economic patriotism, what we do is, I go to a shop, this is Chinese. भाई Chinese मत दिखाना. मुझे चाइनीज सामान नहीं खरीदना है. क्यों नहीं खरीदना है? क्योंकि चाइना को ये पैसा जाएगा और वो चाइना मेरे देश के खिलाफ इस पैसे का इस्तेमाल करेगा. So in that aspect, I want to ask you something. What is your take on smuggling activities? If smuggling happens, things come in this country and we do buy them. So what is your take on that? Now, this is nothing to do with legal aspect.
First of all, Ajay, I started my career in 1992, and I used to do a lot of customs cases, a lot of smuggling cases in those times. And I would appear very frequently before the CGAT, as it was called then, the Customs Excise Gold Control Appellate Tribunal. Smuggling was rampant in those days because the customs duties were very high. And there were differential customs duties for different products. So there was a lot of misclassification, lot of under-invoicing to save customs duty. Smuggling activities were rampant. In my view, not anymore, because customs duties have been rationalized to a large extent. However, having said that, definitely smuggling activities do contribute adversely to the Indian economy. Definitely, I agree with you, but my answer is the same. There's the other side of the coin. Many a times, even innocents are booked for alleged smuggling activities.
I'm not going into that. I'm just looking at the economic aspect.
But I agree with you. Smuggling activities per se have a very, very negative impact on the Indian economy. And therefore, we must deal with it with an iron hand and with appropriate regulation. sanctions.
So the payment for the smuggled goods goes from our foreign exchange, which comes through the parallel channels and goes out. So if this money goes into our foreign exchange reserves, do you think our foreign exchange reserves are going to really swell up?
Definitely.
So now I'll give you an example, some data. India has an annual consumption of gold of 1,000 tons every year. We are very rich when it comes to buying gold. And if you look at the production aspect, the data is all available on Google. We only produce 1.8 tons every year. So 998.2 tons we are importing every year. And if you know what's the rate of gold going on these days, with GST it comes to more than 1 lakh rupees per 10 grams. So if we look at the price, what we are paying, it is 10 lakh crores that we are paying. And another statistics. China produces 368 tons of gold. Russia produces 331. US produces 200 tons. Mexico, and the small countries. There's some African countries I was just reading, they are producing more than 150 tons. So now all these countries, now imagine when we buy 1,000 tons, we buy 368 tons or a portion of that through smuggling channels from Burma. Because it's an open fact that it's crossing the borders through Burma. The smuggling is happening. So now we are buying some of the Chinese gold also. And China is supplying missiles and armaments to Pakistan. Now think of it. The logic may be far-fetched, but when I'm going to the market, I buy gold. Am I not funding indirectly Pakistan to fire against our own country? I'm asking you this question.
That's an eye-opener for me. Okay. You know what the statistics you have given me. Definitely, there is some connection between the gold we buy. The consumers buy gold every day, especially, our women, our ladies traditionally buy gold, to flaunt and to wear at the weddings, the great Indian weddings, and also as a saving tool. Definitely, gold is a very important asset. But this connectivity between gold and feeding terror activities or subversive activities, that's an eye-opener. I am not an economist, but I can comment on your question by saying definitely there should be a conscious national effort to reduce the consumption of gold in the country. But having said that, I must say that it should not be a compulsion for the citizen, because we are a free society, we are a democratic society, we have freedom of business, we have the right to life and liberty, we have all the liberties and freedoms in place, we have fundamental rights in place. So therefore, there should be a conscious national effort, but it should not turn into a compulsion, where some rules are there and there is some element of restriction or prohibition in the purchase of gold. That's my view.
Now, when we are talking here, these are not ordinary times. We are engaged in a very serious armed conflict where Pakistan is being supported by a number of countries. It's a very serious matter. When a government is fighting all the time, they are trying to raise their resources, they are trying to build up armament industry. They are our brothers and sisters. Now, sisters is a very important thing. We have pilots who are ladies, who are flying fighter jets. So brothers and sisters, they are fighting on the border. Don't you think as a country, we all should be joining the government in the war effort by not buying something which is impacting our economy adversely? Freedom apart. Patriotism I am talking about.
I would say that
We have the freedom to be patriotic, right?
Patriotism and freedom, they have to be balanced with each other. That's my view. I would say that the government or we all should spread more and more awareness about the impact of buying gold on terrorist activities or on other disruptive and subversive activities across the borders. But I would reiterate my view in saying that the freedom should be retained in the hands of the citizens. We must spread more and more awareness about this fact, and there should be a conscious, voluntary national effort to reduce the consumption of gold.
As a prominent lawyer, when you are saying so, I know that you are a defender of rights and liberties of people. What I'm talking about is, let's look at the figure. 10 lakh crores goes out and all foreign currency goes out. 10 lakh crores must be $1 trillion. And we are looking at a $5 trillion economy. Imagine for 5 years, we all Indians unite and say no to gold. Only 5 years. Where economy is going to be?
Definitely, I would agree with you to that extent in terms of figures. But at the same time, civil liberties, freedoms, and rights are as important. And I feel that this should be left to government policy, and the economists of the country may decide as a policy matter to reduce the consumption of gold. But I would reiterate, again, because I know you have asked me this question again and again. You're prodding me to answer this question in a certain way. But I would say that, freedom has to be balanced with regulation. So while there may be a conscious national effort, but the freedom should be retained, and there should not be a prohibition against buying of gold. That's my view.
And we certainly do not have the freedom to buy smuggled goods.
Definitely, but the law is very different over there. Unless you buy smuggled goods knowingly that they are smuggled, it's not an offense.
If you are not getting a receipt.
No, but so, you see, in day-to-day products which we buy, you are not expected to keep receipts. So there's something called notified goods. With respect to notified goods, you must have evidence of legitimate import or purchase of the same. But insofar as, the day-to-day products that we consume, it's not possible humanly to carry receipts of these day-to-day products. That's my understanding of the law.
The war has not ended at the moment. It may proliferate. Tomorrow it can be more serious. The government may be needing more soldiers. If you are asked to go and fight with a gun on the borders, would you take that opportunity to defend the country?
I have already answered that question, when you asked me the contribution of lawyers in the war effort.
This is a different situation.
I will definitely.
I'm giving you imagination.
I will want to answer this question. Perhaps, we should let our armed forces protect the physical, geographical borders of the country. As a lawyer, as a member of the bar, I am here to protect the democratic structure of the country, the sovereignty of the country within a constitutional framework. I am here to uphold the constitution of the country, constitution of India. So I better utilize my little knowledge of law in the courts, fighting for the rights of citizens and sustaining the democratic structure.
You were not a lawyer. What you would be?
I never thought of any other profession. But, I must say this, when class 5 or 6 in Mayo College, Ajmer, in one of the classes, the teacher asked all of us, what do you want to become in life when you grow up? So you had, Air Force, Army, general, doctor, engineer, and I was the only person who said law. So everybody looked at me that who is this lawyer in the making? So I always wanted to be a lawyer, but since you've asked me this interesting question, I must answer it. Perhaps I would have been a parliamentarian. I would have endeavored to enter the parliament. Also, I would have been an author. I would have been a part of legal policy making, maybe drafting legislations, perhaps teaching law, also teaching constitutional law, criminal law, which I love as my subjects of expertise. So these are some of the alternative occupations that come to my mind if I was not a lawyer.
So you are already doing all these things. You are an author. You are already teaching your juniors. You are a lawyer. At the same time, you are giving lectures also. And you are on your pathway towards the parliament.
I don't know. But primarily, I'm a lawyer. And I think the question was that if you were not a lawyer, I mean, which
so your answer is, if I were not a lawyer, I would be.
You're absolutely right. All these occupations are integrally connected with law.
Yes.
And in some way, I'm definitely, I write on legal issues. I speak on legal issues at different forums. I am a guest speaker or a guest lecturer on legal topics. But definitely, Parliament is nowhere in sight at this point in time.
You are still very young for that.
Thank you.
You have every chance of entering the Parliament.
Thank you. Let's see how future will unfold itself.
And we actually need good parliamentarians.
Thank you.
People who know the law. And I would address my viewers to tell you, how the prominent lawyers are born lawyers. They can't do anything else. Now my question here is, despite the fact we have so many committed lawyers, committed jurists, good judges, despite that, we have a justice delivery system which have problems. We have a lot of undecided cases, a long queue. If I remember, in 80s and 90s, the admitted cases used to come for hearing in 3-4 years. And now it can be 20 years. So how do we deal with that?
That's a very big problem we are facing in the courts across the country. And, even in Delhi High Court, for instance, nowadays in many bail applications where you imperatively need an immediate hearing. Even in bail matters, you are getting dates after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Even bail applications are kept pending for 6 months to 1 year or even more. Admitted regular appeals, they are nowhere in sight. In fact, the after notice matters don't come up. So this has become a pandemic problem. It's become a very big problem, and the problem is growing, in harmonious progression, arithmetic progression every day. My suggestion to the policy makers would be, we need more and more judges, first of all. We need to multiply the judiciary by several times over. Not by 10%, 20%, 30%. We need to multiply that. The judges to population ratio in India, when compared to Western democracies, to advanced democracies of the West, is still very lopsided. We need more and more judges, first of all. Secondly, of course, we need more efficient tools. AI has come. We need information technology to percolate into the district level judiciary.
Do you think AI and technology can be of any assistance in early disposal of these cases?
Definitely in terms of grouping of cases. I am not saying that the AI will become the judge or the AI will become the prosecutor.
It
can enable and facilitate grouping of cases and finding judgments, applying those judgments to the facts of the case. They can act as facilitative tools to expedite the disposal. But coming back to my first, answer, we need more and more judges all the time.
Okay. And more judges or more good judges and more good counsels?
Definitely more good judges, more meritorious judges, better counsels, better lawyers. Definitely that pool also has to improve.
This brings us to a question. You need good judges, you need good counsels, you would need good legal professionals. And how do you get them? You need a good legal education. What do you have to say about the legal education in this country? Do you think they are capable of supplying such a workforce, good judges, good legal professionals, counsels?
One idea that comes to my mind, by which the shortcomings in the legal education sector can be jumped over or bypassed, is mandatory clerkship, mandatory articleship. For example, if you want to be a chartered accountant, you take the exams, but you have to mandatorily be an article clerk with a senior chartered accountant with a chartered accountant. Similarly, MBBS program, medical program, you have to work in the hospital while you are undergoing the medical program. So you could have a similar mandatory system, where law students, something more than an internship. So after you finished your law, maybe 1 year of rigorous training as an article, or during your LLB program, which is 5 years, I would not want to make it 6 years, or let's not make 3 years into 4 years. But within the program, law program, a mandatory articleship kind of a concept should be brought into play, so that there is more standardization, more practical experiences given to the law students, and therefore we can have much better lawyers from across the board. We need reforms in that direction.
So you mean to say that the way we have training for the judges, we should have training for the lawyers also?
Definitely. I think we'll have to apply so many tools, so many tools. We must churn out the best in the legal sector, which means law students who are not up to the mark, who are below par, should not be allowed to enter the system. So therefore, the marking, the examinations, the testing has to be far more strict and severe, so that we have only the best legal brains coming into the system, or meritorious legal brains coming into the legal system.
See, it was wonderful talking to you. There's a book, Chaff and Grain. I think this was published last year or last to last year?
About 2 years back.
So, this was a great success, and it was taken very well.
Thank you.
Even I went through this. So, would you like to say something about this? What inspired you to write this? There are some essays in that.
First of all, this book, Chaff and Grain, is closest to my heart. It is my favorite book amongst the 8 of them that I have written. I tried to write this book over 10 years. And I would write 10 pages, 50 pages, 100 pages. I went to write even 200 pages, and I put them in a bonfire. I was just not getting it right. Till my elder daughter, Ramayani, she's a lawyer, she's studying at Cambridge. During the pandemic, she told me, why don't you write, 7 good essays on issues that confront the Indian criminal justice system, and put in your experiences, put in your insights, put in your perspectives, and write it in a story-like format, in a journalistic format. And that is what I did. And, hence, Chaff and Grain was born. In fact, I have dedicated this book to my daughter, Ramayani, who inspired and motivated me to write this book.
So the 4th chapter is jail not bail, bail not jail. Just tell me a few lines about this, what you have written in this.
So the fundamental principle is bail not jail. I feel it is not applied in reality, the manner in which it should be applicable across the criminal justice system, in spite of the Supreme Court delivering landmark judgments like Satinder Antil, etc., where, great emphasis has been given on the principle of bail, not jail. Still, these principles do not appear to be percolating down to the magistracy or the sessions court or even the high court. We still have many judges, hundreds of judges or maybe thousands of judges whom I would call bail deniers, who deny bail, whatever may be the case. So, so I've written about, how bail, not jail is an important principle, how it should get into the DNA of the criminal justice system. However, having said that, there are certain exceptional cases where jail, not bail, may be applicable. But that should be an exception. That should not become the rule. Unfortunately, in many courts in the country, when I appear, I find that jail, not bail, is the principle, and bail, not jail, is an exception. It should be vice versa.
So, here's something very interesting. The junior lawyers say that it's only when at the stage of the bail they get their fees, not during the trial. It's a very interesting part. Before we close, I want you to address the younger bar and give a message to them with your experience of 33 years at the bar. How you would like to guide the younger bar?
In fact, I must say this to all my young friends at the bar. Bail practice is the easiest practice. Ajay will agree with me. He has much more experience than even I have. He must be at the bar for about 40 years now. Bail is the easiest way to make money. When you are arguing a bail application, you have those 5, 7, 8 grounds. Firstly, it is argued that investigation is complete. Why should the man remain in jail? Charge sheet has been filed. Why should the man remain in jail? He is not required for any police interrogation, so he should be granted bail. Why should he be kept in incarceration when the trial will take a long time? He is not a flight risk. He has roots in the society. And all the allegations are matters of trial. So typically, bail applications revolve around 6 or 7 principles. So it's very easy to argue bail applications in the court. But where you sweat and where you have to actually burn the midnight oil, you have to put in your blood and effort and sweat, is when you have to conduct a criminal trial. And criminal trial is the most difficult aspect of law practice. You have to burn the midnight oil to prepare a cross-examination of an important witness. Very difficult. How to frame the questions, what not to ask, how much to ask. Never ask the nucleus question. I have said that in one of my talks on cross-examination. Never ask the witness, did you see him stab the deceased? Never ask him. Obviously, he will say yes. Ask him all the peripheral questions. So cross-examination is a dying art. The beauty of criminal practice is trial. It is the highest point of a lawyer, who cross-examines a witness, who argues a regular appeal in the court. So my emphatic request to my young friends at the bar would be that there's a dearth of good criminal trial lawyers. Bail lawyers are many. So there's not much competition when it comes to criminal trial lawyers. So please come to the trial courts. Don't rush for a commercial law practice only, arbitration, etc., etc. There is a lot of vacuum in criminal trial especially. And that's the area of the future, because when you have more and more courts at the district level, so trials are progressing at a faster pace. For example, you have so many CBI courts in Delhi. You have so many ED courts. where you are called upon to cross-examine witnesses. So in future, I foresee that criminal trials will become more and more expeditious. The earlier thought that the man, once an accused, is granted bail, it's gone. The case is gone for good. In future, definitely we'll have more and more courts, and you will have trials being expedited. So developing a talent pool in the area of criminal trial is the future of the bar. So please come and please join the criminal trial practice.
With this, we are going to close this. There's much more that we can ask Mr. Vivek Sood, and he has so much to share with us, share with the bar. And we are going to bring many more prominent lawyers in our show later on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the evening that you have spent with us.
Thank you.